Living as a woman in Iran is very difficult because you live in a country that look at you not as a human, as a sex object.
Death of a 22-year-old for showing portions of her hair through her headscarf. Cause of death? Immoral dressing. How? Because of the visible hair. What? Well, yes. That became the cause of death for the 22-year-old Iranian woman Mahsa Amini. Over the past week, Iran has witnessed large-scale protests in several cities in which 41 people are reported to have lost their lives. These anti-establishment demonstrations were triggered because of the death of Mahsa Amini on 16 September while she was in the custody of the country's morality police. The Amini episode reveals the hypocrisy of the Iranian state because it demands that other countries should respect the basic human right to freedom of clothing while denying this very right to its own women. Want to know more about the incident? We will help you with it. In this video, we will talk about the Mahsa Amini Hijab case. Support for protests in Iran is rising among international celebrities, with Justin Bieber joining the crowd as hijab victim Mahsa Amini's hashtag has reached 100 million. The Canadian pop star used his platform of about 260 million followers on Instagram to raise awareness about the current uprising in Iran, with the story of the Iranian protesters holding a photo of Mahsa Amini, whose tragic death in the custody of the hijab police triggered worldwide rallies against the Islamic Republic. The Persian hashtag has been trending in support of Mahsa, and it has been retweeted more than 100 million times and still counting, which is by far the highest number of retweets in the history of Twitter, about 25 times more than the trendiest hashtags on social media platforms so far. This has been achieved thanks to numerous celebrities and political figures, as well as human rights activists and organizations. Several foreign singers and artists have also dedicated pieces to the 22-year-old, including the legendary co-founder of Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, who has posted a few times since last week, expressing anger over the Mahsa death.
And I don't want to knock the whole country because you can't tar them all with the same brush. But the idea of one religious leader deciding absolutely everything is pretty old-fashioned these days. I'm glad the young woman brought this to my show last night. There was a group of 5 or 6 young Iranian people in the front row. So there you are, girl. Yes, we do support you, and we do support all those young people who are protesting in Tehran. They need to listen to the voices of these people. You cannot tell people how to dress anymore. This is now the 21st century. We are not living in the 11th or 12th century. People have to be allowed their voice and allowed their freedom. And so, Mahsa Amini, we will never forget you. We haven't forgotten Neda Aga Sultan.
So who was Mahsa Amini and what was this incident? Well, Mahsa Amini belonged to Kurdistan and was visiting Tehran when she was picked up on 13 September by the morality police for wearing the hijab improperly because her hair was partially exposed. She was in custody for 3 days and later died. The police claimed that she died because of a sudden health issue, while she and others were receiving guidance. Mahsa Amini's family and the people at large refused to believe the police version. As per Iranian human rights organization Hrana, Amini's family were told by the police that their daughter would be released after a re-education session. Later, they were informed that she had been taken to the hospital and was transferred to an intensive care unit where she was declared brain dead. On the other hand, the police said that the 22-year-old died suffering a heart attack on 16 September, 2 days after she was allegedly arrested. However, Amini's family countered their claim, saying that their daughter did not have any health problems. Pictures showing Amini lying in a hospital bed in a coma with bandages on her head and breathing tubes have also been doing the rounds on social media. So what happened next? Well, hence the violent demonstrations across many cities sparked. In these protests, some women threw away their hijab. The police used force to curb the protests. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi, who was in New York to address the United Nations General Assembly on the 20th September, came under great pressure because the Mahsa Amini case put Iran once again in spotlight as a violator of the internationally accepted human rights. He responded to criticism by giving an assurance that the incident would be investigated. The same assurance was given by other authorities in Iran to control the protests.
آیا قصور یا تقصیری انجام شده یا نشده حتما باید بررسی بشه. من در اولین فرصتی که برام امکان داشت با خانواده ایشون تماس گرفتم.
While many liberal Iranian clerics spoke against the morality police, significantly the supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei has not commented on the incident. At the same time, the Revolutionary Guards, the traditional guardians of the Islamic Revolution, have warned the protesters of stern action to control the situation. But what does the Iran's Islamic Revolution have to do with the case? Well, Iran's Islamic Revolution did away with any notion of freedom of dress for the Iranian woman. The zealots of the revolution demanded that all women in Iran, including foreigners, should dress in keeping with Islamic practices. The wearing of the hijab by women is a social custom in many Muslim countries. It was so also in Iran. But Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi, who ruled Iran from 1941 till he was overthrown in the Ayatollah-led Islamic Revolution in 1979, allowed women not to wear the hijab. His queens and other ladies of the royal household, as well as those belonging to the Iranian aristocracy and the professional middle classes, did not wear the hijab. With the revolution, Iranian women were mandated to cover themselves with the chadar. It was compulsory for foreign women, including visiting women dignitaries, to cover themselves completely with the coat and their heads with scarves. At the same time, the Iranians insisted that foreign women, including leaders, should not touch any males. Hence, diplomats always advised visiting lady leaders of their countries never to extend their hands to Iranian male leaders. The Iranians insisted on all this in the name of Islamic practices. In fact, Iranian leaders, even when they are abroad, do not shake hands with women. To ensure that Iranian women wore proper Islamic dress, the institution of the morality police was put in place. It was given wide powers to ensure that women were kept in line in public in matters of dress and in their general deportment. The conduct of morality police is aggressive, and many Iranians who are proud of their cultural heritage find them offensive.
The only country that enforced hijab on women, it's Iran and Afghanistan under Taliban. Because compulsory hijab is the main pillar of religious dictatorship. It's the most visible symbol of the gender apartheid regime.
Now, after the Shah Amini case, what can happen next? Well, the question is if the protests sparked off by Mahsa Amini's death will have any systemic change regarding the dress codes relating to Iranian women. This is impossible, for these codes are intrinsic to the very notion of what is proper Islamic conduct, and that the inheritors of the Khomeini revolution are pledged to uphold. There has always been a tussle in Iran between what is described by the Hindi word rasik, meaning cultural mores of the Persian civilization, and the norms of austere Islam. Sometimes concessions become necessary, as they did when women had to be allowed to go to stadiums to see sports and games, although in separate stands. But these measures are extended most reluctantly. Certainly no concessions should be expected in matters of dress, although new practices may be prescribed for the morality police to assuage public outrage and to assure the people against a repeat of the Mahsa Amini case. Iran is not being criticized by any Islamic country for the Amini incident. Indeed, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, when asked about it, expressed full confidence in the assurance of the Iranian authorities to fairly investigate the cause of Amini's death. Meanwhile, it will continue to practice its hypocrisy by seeking freedom of dress for women in countries like India, obviously meaning that those who wish to wear the hijab should be allowed to do so in any situation, which is correct, but they'll be denying the freedom of not wearing the hijab to its own women. What is more hypocritical is that the leaders seek to impose Iranian dress and behavior codes on women even when they are outside Iran. This was recently witnessed in New York when Raisi refused to be interviewed by an internationally known woman journalist because she was unwilling to cover her hair and perhaps dress in a manner he considered appropriate. The bottom line is that the matter is not about wearing or not wearing the hijab. It is about women having the freedom to choose how they wish to dress. This is the matter at hand, and this is what we need to understand as human beings. The basic decency to let people decide what is appropriate dressing for their own selves and not extend their notions of morality on others. Acceptance is a huge factor in promoting women's rights and human rights at large. The right to freedom to dress and express without the fear of becoming the next Amini. While we wait on Iran's stance on now the global question of Amini's death, how about you express your views about our work? You know the drill. Comment down your inputs and takeaways. Share the video with fellow enthusiasts. Subscribe to our channel, and until we meet next, stay curious, stay awesome. Volt of Vogues signing off.